it's a very good morning to you. The pistol has been fired, and let's see who's going to be first to show up across the finish line this morning. Just a matter of seconds, and they'll be there. Good morning. I'm George Grant, and saying welcome to... Ha, 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 ha. Here they go. But let me finish first. Say good morning to you guys. Good morning. And thank you very much for joining me for today's edition of Gudday Grenada. It's another gorgeous morning here this morning. I feel totally refreshed and ready to take on the world. Yeah, man, went to the beach this morning. No snakes in the sea this morning, but we did get tons and tons and tons of grapes. And we've discovered a tree which has got really sweet grapes, yeah? So, taking a look here at Facebook, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. Hazel is first again this morning. Yes, sirree. Hazel, 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 Hazel. I'm convinced you probably have one of those devices where you log on to the internet from right there on your wrist, whatever. It's always with you. She wins, and Peter Bishop is settling for second place this morning, and he's laughing his head off. I guess he's laughing because Hazel is now, I can't tell you how many times she's come in first, but she's been doing extremely well. You guys have a lot of catching up to do. Keep it up. Who else? Fitzroy Adams is saying good morning, and Kipling Francis is sending his blessings to everybody. Now here's a name that is kind of new to me. Manusart. Manusart? I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Manusart. Alexander saying good morning, sir. Good morning, sir, to you too. Thank you very much for joining us. If this is your first time on Gudday Grenada or Grenada Broadcast, thank you so much. We hope that you will spread the word around that we're here every weekday morning, and also on Sundays and on Thursdays. Like last night, for example, we had an edition of We Chat. Hi. For those of you who miss the live programs, please go to the GRENADABROADCAST.com website. They're also up there on Facebook. You know, once it goes up to Facebook, it stays there, and the same with YouTube. But we also make it possible for you to review those programs. You can go back and listen to them at your own leisure on the GRENADABROADCAST.com website in the archive section. Also being joined this morning by Jennifer Myers. Hello, Jennifer, saying good morning. Claude Pudna, good to see you last night. He's saying good morning. Rachel John is saying good morning, Georgia, and good morning, everyone. And John is also saying good morning. He says, I was playing catch-up last night with Make We Chat. Yeah, last night we had some internet problems. Not surprisingly, but we had some internet problems last night. And we did get the program up. Actually, we did pretty good. I think just after 11 o'clock it was up there on both Facebook and YouTube. So it really wasn't an internet problem per se. The internet was performing well. I did some speed tests. It was performing well. Whatever it is was, while it was done on the internet, it was not the internet. All right? Okay, so let's take a look at what's cooking here this morning. Pilgrims. It's amazing that I'm so upbeat this morning because deep down inside, I'm hurting. Hurting because of the two segments that I'm going to bring to you this morning to start today's program. Everybody in this country has probably seen the dreadful stories about what happened in the Bahamas over the past few days. And yeah, being beaten up by Dorian was one thing, but now the recovery process and hearing the stories that some people went through, it's painful. And I'm going to keep running these because I want to keep this matter at the front of your minds so that you will be moved spiritually to make some sort of contribution, some sort of donation to the recovery effort, okay? These folks need your help. And for those of you like me who went through Ivan back in 2004, we understand all too well. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if you stand in front of somebody in the Bahamas right now, look at them in the eye, and they're looking at you in the eye, and they're still in a daze from what they went through over the last couple of days. They're not even seeing you. Yeah? You've been through that? I have. So we're going to show that to you. One heart-wrenching story from the Bahamas. The other thing I'm going to show to you is another, oh my God, hard to believe. No, it's not hard to believe. It's sad to believe that this is happening right here in Grenada. Arthur Langine, who's one of our regulars here, I haven't seen him yet this morning, but he sent me a video last night, which I'm going to show to you this morning. It's about a young man who lost his life here just a couple of days ago. And the piece he sent me was actually an excerpt from a program which was done by our friend Junior George. So as soon as I saw this, and this was around midnight last night, I called Junior and said, Junior, look, man, I really want to run this thing tomorrow morning. And he said, sure. And I said, you know what, I also want you to come on the program on Sunday and tell the story. This piece is going to be captioned, Stephan Sandy's Final Moments. Heart-wrenching. Hang on a sec, coming your way in just a wee bit. We also have the national report for you. And then this being a Friday morning, Mr. Brian Pitt should be popping up on that screen there in just a wee bit. Looking forward to hear what's on his chest this morning. Okay? Now, let's get down to business. Let me start by inviting you folks to join us on Sunday morning, because we've got some good stuff coming your way. But the first thing I want to show to you this morning is another series of images about what happened in the Bahamas over the past few days. Here's a survivor telling his story about how he lost his 5-year-old son. Check this out.
A father recounted the terrifying moments his 5-year-old son was swept by destructive tides from the roof of a home in Murphytown, Abaco, as Hurricane Dorian crushed homes, uprooted trees, flattened churches, and buried the town he once called home in a watery grave. 38-year-old Adrian Farrington, who injured his right hand and leg during the ordeal, has been recovering at the Princess Margaret Hospital since Monday. His son, Adrian Jr., disappeared under the mounds of debris that floated on top of the water sometime on Sunday and hasn't been seen since.
I just hope they find him. I just hope they find him. Because a 5-year-old in that kind of search, they don't stand much a chance.
Farrington said his family, including his wife and their 2 children, were forced to go into the catastrophic conditions after their home had become compromised. They sought refuge in a nearby home, but soon had to abandon that as well.
We had to exit that house, and we went to higher ground to a different house, which had a manhole. Take my wife, take her son and my son. I put them up inside the manhole. We were safe there for a while till the water started to enter the manhole.
He said after he and his family abandoned a 3rd home, a piece of debris sparred his leg, hampering an already chaotic and tedious journey. As his leg bled and he struggled to stay afloat, his son held tightly onto his back. Farrington said he saw a truly horrific sight.
After about an hour of treading water and bleeding, I noticed I saw some fins swimming along the houses. So I grabbed my son and I put him on top of the roof. But before I could have sit on the roof to hold him, the gust from the hurricane dragged him across the roof, back into the surge on the next side. By the time I come down, try to move the breeze and get back around, I come on down and I couldn't see, so I was like feeling, see if I could feel some kind of cloth, some kind of clothes, some kind of skin, flesh, tennis, something. I ain't find nothing. Come back up, I hold my breath and I come back down again. All this time, people carrying my wife to safety and they calling me, but I ain't want to go because I didn't want to leave my son. Keep looking for him. I keep looking for him.
Exhausted and hopeless, Farrington said he took off again on his own, desperately trying to get to higher ground, but when he got there, he couldn't walk. Farrington said he had to crawl on his stomach towards a nearby church where about 8 to 12 people were seeking shelter.
The wall of the church was moving like when you put cloth on the line on a breezy day. So after I noticed the wall was shaking so much, I moved from a seated position to a standing position with the entrance of the door right there. And when I feel the wall pushing me, all I do is I hold on the wall and I get in the entrance of the door. And everybody else who's inside, they run to try to hold the wall. And I watch the wall and the roof crush everybody inside the church. There's a guy, I could have seen him. I tap on him, I ask him if he's okay. I ain't getting a response. I didn't want to stay there, so I creeped from there.
Farrington said he also watched as a man seemed to give up on life after the cries from his family who had been trapped inside a water-filled home dried up. But he said it's the last memory of his son that keeps him up at night.
I still could remember him reaching for me, calling me, Daddy. I just hope they find him. I just hope they find him. Because a 5-year-old in that kind of surge, I mean, they don't stand much a chance.
Hurricane Dorian is the strongest storm to ever make landfall in the northern Bahamas. Farrington, who weathered the elements for several hours until he was rescued, said no one could have prepared for the terror brought on by the killer storm.
The shelters where they send people crush people. Homes where they say was safe wasn't safe. The school where they say is a shelter, it ain't had no shelter because the roof get blown off. What the surge didn't destroy, the winds destroyed.
For the Guardian News Network, I'm Gillian Gray.
You know, I think, first of all, let me say thank you to the Guardian for the use of that, and also thank you very much to Anthony Riggs, who actually sent that video to me overnight. I think Ryan sums it up very well here. He says, nice people of Grand Bahama and Abaco, Bahamas, deserving followers of all help. This is a tearjerker. Absolutely, Ryan, absolutely, absolutely. I see that there are a number of you out there who are incognito so far this morning. John Bruno is out there. T.F. Richards is out there. T.F. boy, so good to see you. I haven't been hearing much from you lately. Cecilia, I think it is. Yes, Cecilia Yvonne James is also there. And good old Mags is there as well. Ryan says here that piece that you just saw was an absolute nightmare. Well, I'll tell you what. That's one nightmare this morning, and I hate to end the week on this note. But my dear friends, when you see the video that I'm about to show you right now, this is an excerpt from Right Along with Junior George. If what you just saw didn't make you cry, what you're about to just might. Check this out.
It was could be about a little after 2. I was on my way home. I was walking down River Road. When I was coming towards Mr. Telford's shop, I heard a big breathing from the inner road. So when I reached where I could see in the inner road, so I asked him, like, Major, why you sounding like that? What's the problem? he tell me he breathing on and off. So I ask him, I say the same thing with the operation. He tell me, boy, I ain't breathing too good. So I said to him, why didn't you go to the hospital earlier? He tell me he been going off and on, and they keep telling him, the doctor in there. So we walked for about 6 minutes. When we reached by the supermarket, River Road, the breathing was getting disturbing to me. I wasn't feeling right with the breathing. So I walked a little way in front of him. When I reached by Miss Joy place, he was by Purser cement room. He called me out by my name and tell me, man, I'm gonna die. I cannot make it again. So I run back and he hang on to me and he asked me, he said, you have a knife? He said, give me a knife, let me cut my throat. I said, no man, I have no knife. But which I had a knife on me, but I was scared. So he tell me, if you have a knife, cut my throat, get something and cut my throat. I was like, no man, I'll call, we'll get a ride. The man gets so anxious, he started jumping up. So I tell him, I said, sit down, sit down, sit down, sit down. And I hold him and I put him sit down. And then he breathing off and on again. Then the man just shouted to me and he said, call me by my name, Jack. He said, Jack, that is it, and I go in and I go die now, and I go in, and I run and hold the man, and when I hold the man eyes started close. There was a guy called Mark walking up the road. And Mark ended up running up and helped me, and then a neighbor Kingsley, our shop right there, he run out. And three of us trying to sort him out. The man just lied on there and just passed out. But before he passed out, vehicles was passing. And everybody, we stopped, nobody stopping. This one guy come and stop. And when we told him we want to go to the hospital, the man just turn up the music and he drive off, you know. Then I call 911. When I tell them the problem, they tell me they're going to put me on to the hospital. When they put me on to the nurse, she tell me, emergency, they just have an accident, they cannot come. I tell them, I say, come on, man. The guy, he all did an operation on the guy because he swallowed a teeth sometime back. And right now, he cannot breathe. And he's lying here. He might dead if he don't come. She tell me get a ride and bring him down. I say, but I'm trying and I'm not getting a ride. So we keep flogging vehicles. And two little guys came and they stopped. And we put him inside the vehicle. Well, Mark went in the vehicle, he sit down. I put his head on Mark and put up his foot in the van. We closed the van and the guy dropped him in hospital. But by that time I tell myself he died. He was already dead. But about 5 minutes after or 3 minutes after the ambulance came, I tell him I sent the guy down already. Mark came back about half an hour after and tell me the guy died. And when he reached down there, they put him on a wheelchair. They just let him put him on a wheelchair and push him in. So that was it. I mean, that morning I was so disturbed. I didn't sleep. I stayed with her the whole morning. I tell a couple of people what happened as I'm going down the road. I explained to a couple of people, they tell me I'm joking. I said, no, it happened right there. I couldn't believe that people so mean that they wouldn't even give a ride to save somebody's life. There was no blood, nothing, because I put him lie down. Because I don't want him fall and damage himself, let him think something else happened to him. I put him lie down, Mark pumping him his stomach to see if he can get him to breathe. And he just died in my hand. Good night.
It's whatever life, but life, it's not, you can't take life for granted, you know? You can be feeling healthy today, but you don't know what's going on inside, you know? Your body, you know? So, don't take life for granted, you know? Always check on your health, you know? You don't have to feel sick or job sick to go to the hospital or check a doctor to take your vitals, you know. Know how your blood pressure is, know how your blood sugar is, you know, because plenty people are dying. Please, you know. I've seen plenty people losing their feet, losing their foot, you know. It's very terrible, you know, and that's because of carelessness, what they eat. Maybe it's too much starch, you know. Some people like to drink alcohol, you know. You gotta check your health, you know, take charge of your life, you know. And you be around good people, positive people, so you can learn positive things, you know. It's very important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Being positive things, and you gotta put God first in everything you do. Yeah, remember God in everything you do, put Him first. They say, seek ye the kingdom of God, and everything else will be added. You know? Yeah, so don't say I'm not at church today because there's a big session. They go to the church and give God what is His, you know? Because He's the protector of your life still, you know? Yeah. And share love. Yeah, take charge of your life. So I guess God will have a plan for me, you know? A testimony that's great to give, yeah. So I thank the people and ride along, and God bless everyone.
All right, folks, that hard to take. Hard to take. It pains me. Anyhow, on Sunday morning, we're going to take a deeper look at this matter. I intend to have Junior George, whom you saw at the end of that piece of video there, and when he narrated the story to me last night, it just totally floored me. And I'm going to ask him to tell that story again on Sunday morning. He has also sent me a contact number for the brother of that young man. I'm going to try to reach him today and see if we can get a hold of him, because I'd like you to hear his side of the story. And I see here Ryan Jabon is saying, I'm also going to try to get somebody from the medical fraternity. Now, you know the way things are in Grenada. Not too many people are talking about what's really happening. It seems like the whole world knows what's going on, but the authorities aren't speaking. But as a courtesy, I am going to attempt to get somebody from the ministry or one of the doctors or somebody to talk about this. Ryan says this poor man has a, I'm not a Medicare, tracheostomy, I think it is, tube that seems plugged with mucus, needing endotracheal suctioning and humidification. Simple procedure preventing breathing collapse. Sad, real sad, Grenada. We can do better. Health and life are crucial, people. And by the way, when you watch that video, you saw the first part of the video, there were two pictures of the young man, and in the middle of those two pictures, you saw something, I'm not sure it was clear to you, but that's the tooth that actually cost him his life. A tooth. That cost him his life. All right? Kipling Francis says, sometimes we forget God when we are doing well. In times like these, all we can say is God knows best. No one cannot prepare for the unexpected. All we can do is pray and hope and have faith. Okay. So Sunday morning, be sure to join us. Now, it is 24 minutes after the hour. I am asking myself, do I go to the national report, or do I bring this gentleman in to show off his pretty golf shirt this morning? You know, he knows that George likes golf shirts, so he's wearing a golf shirt, but let me tell you, mine can't compete with, wait, let me show you. Just take a look, See what I mean? Look at that. Look at that golf shirt. Let me ask him if he's ready to talk to me right now, or whether I should go ahead with the national report. Good morning, Mr. Pitt. Why am I not hearing you, Mr. Pitt? I don't hear you, Mr. Pitt. I don't believe this. I don't believe this. I guess he's hearing me, but I'm certainly not hearing him. Well, what do you know? Mr. Pitt Gudday, Mr. Pitt Gudday. Ah, yes, our woes continue. Ha. All right, I'll tell you what. Let's leave Mr. Pitt for just a wee bit here, and John Kennison says that Mr. Pitt, it's Pitt time. Yeah, he says he's wearing matching his earplugs. Your eyes are too damn big for you, John. Dennis Clark says his mic is off. I don't know if his mic is off. I know he's talking, but I'm seeing him talking, but for whatever reason, I'm not hearing him. Mr. Pitt, Mr. Pitt, Mr. Pitt. I've got all my buttons punched in here. Let me hang on a sec here. Let's see if we can do some adjustments here. Mr. Pitt, good morning. He do day. And everything's plugged in here, so the gremlins obviously don't like Mr. Pitt. We tried everything we can at this end, and we're just not hearing him. Mr. Pitt, Mr. Pitt, Mr. Pitt, Mr. Pitt. Oh boy. I can't believe it, man. I'm so looking forward to hearing what this guy's got up his sleeve this morning. Okay, he's disconnected, and we're just going to wait on him to get back on. So let's take a little break here in the meantime, and we shall return, hopefully, with a vocal Mr. Pitt.
Because your vehicle is a necessity, being roadworthy is critical. Hubbard's Motor Department introduces its new tire and battery sales and service outlet located at Building Supplies Compound in Grandans, close to the Sugar Mill Roundabout. Available are a wide range of competitively priced tires, maintenance-free batteries, oils and lubricants. Keeping in mind your busy schedule, this outlet is equipped to provide you with fast and reliable service. Simply drive in and you'll be delighted with your service experience. For more information, contact 440-2087. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Co-op Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank. And there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
You don't know how many hurricanes will be coming this season, so you need to be prepared. At Hubbard's Hardware and Building Supply Departments and Food Fair Supermarkets, everything from canned foods, flashlights and batteries, to plywood, tarpaulin, lanterns, roof repair kits, water tanks, etc. are available. For over 90 years, we've helped you prepare for and recover from storms. Hubbard's Hardware, Food Fair Supermarkets, and the Grenadian General Insurance, an integral part of your hurricane preparedness plan.
Mr. Pitt? Mr. Pitt? Whatever. Let's see now. Let me hear you do your 1, 2, 3 again.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
I think they got you now, Mr. Pitt. But just before I come to you, there's a note here from Margaret. Margaret says, the inhumanity to each other in Grenada is appalling. I couldn't help but pay attention to the line that he was going to the hospital, and every time the doctor was not there. My brother's experience as well. It took the radiologist 3 weeks plus to read results of a CT scan showing primary pancreatic cancer. Oh my God. Yes, Mags, I remember your story only too well. Anthony the Rig says, pray to God we never have a major medical problem involving tourists in Grenada. Lots of emphasis is placed on hotels and tourism, but proper health care matters big time. John says, Anthony the Riggs, we did when a visitor took ill on the Osprey and eventually died. There wasn't even a medical box, an oxygen tank on board. An oxygen tank was on board, but no mask. Pathetic, pathetic. Good morning. Okay,
Good
so
morning.
you can
Good morning,
stop.
George.
You can stop coughing and clearing your throat now. I'm hearing you loud and clear. How you doing, my friend?
Fantastic. I'm great. I'm great.
Okay, now, Mr. Pitt, tell me about this nice new polo shirt in the man. Who sent that for you?
Well,
Who sent that for you, Brian?
George, you're embarrassing me here. Does everybody have to know when I get a barrel?
Well, I get one. A lot of the shirts you see me wear come in barrels, man.
Yes, yes, yes. Our friends and family are looking after us, George.
Yes, they do care about us. They really do.
Yeah, we have always been dependent.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Without them, we're nowhere. Thank you very much, Diaspora. Thank you very much for helping us out. So, Brian,
Thank you.
What's up your sleeve this morning, friend?
But you know, George, just quickly on this whole medical issue that you were talking about, somebody mentioned what would happen if a tourist got sick. They would probably go to St. Augustine or some private clinic.
Yeah.
The problem at the hospital, George, and the medical care therein is us, the general public, are the ones that have to use the facility.
Yeah.
Not the tourists. Not the tourists. So you have to look after you. We have to look after us. We are the ones that will suffer. We are the ones that are suffering. Yeah. And until it affects us personally, we don't take note.
We are taking note, Brian, because there's a lot of noise being made out there, but somehow nothing seems to be done about it.
Well, maybe we got to find another way of making noise, George. Maybe we got to go to the streets. Maybe we got to start to demonstrate. We have to do something, George, to get the attention of the powers that be.
What, Brian? That's what I'm trying to figure out. What?
George, maybe we got to get placards and start walking the road.
Oh, come on, Brian. You know
listen, George, we have to find a way of getting the attention of the powers that be, because so far they're ignoring us.
Exactly.
So far they're telling us that everything is okay, and there are certain enablers that continue to preach that gospel. But people are suffering and the conditions are getting worse.
Brian, you just mentioned take to the streets. Brian, how many protests have you heard being called, and how many people show up? A dozen?
Well, yeah, and that is a problem, George, because people are otherwise occupied. People are occupied trying to make a living, trying to send their kids to school. I mean, we have become a society, and I'm very concerned about that. I'm going to get to that later this morning. I don't want to take up too much of my time on this issue this morning, but we are so busy doing all kinds of other things for mere survival, George, that we don't even listen to the radio anymore.
Yeah.
We are busy taking our children to school, providing food and clothing that we don't have the money for. I was in town recently, George, and there was like a ghost town because I guess people are sending their children to school and have to find ways of doing that. Anyhow, I'm concerned, George, about what's happening in Grenada. Very concerned.
Margaret says, Brian, she says, Brian, a lot of us have been taking note and crying in the wilderness. When it is a family member, it makes the reality even greater. Now, let me ask you this. I'm going to toss this out at you. There's somebody listening to you right now in the Azores, all right? A long way from here, Brian. He says, national strike.
For a national strike to happen, George, you have to have the leadership of the trade union movement involved. And I'm not too sure whether the leadership of the trade union movement in today's Grenada are committed to the well-being of its membership. And I say that without any reservation. I do not know that who are the people that have to use the hospital? Members of the union. They are the bottom of the society, the bottom of the economy. Those are the people they represent. So if the trade union movement does not recognize that their membership might be faced with this health problem when they go to the hospital, George, who is going to call the national strike? We're playing games, George. The leadership in many of our parts of the society playing games. The private sector organization playing games. The trade union movement playing games. And everybody is facilitating this, what is happening in Grenada right now, and that's my concern.
Brian,
yes, George?
Brian, yeah, I know. I'm sitting here.
I mean, we listen to these guys in the Senate, and when they get up to speak, they speak on behalf of the trade union movement, whoever is representing the trade union movement, or the private sector. Is that the only time they recognize that they're representing these people? I have not heard a word from the trade union movement as yet on this whole idea about the increase in the NIS or the age or the retirement age. Mm-hmm. How would that impact the society going forward? Mm-hmm. Yes? Mm-hmm. All this stuff that is happening in the hospital, all these complaints that we have, I have not heard a word about trying to get something done.
John Kennison says, and the trade unions are in the pockets of the powerful.
Now, that is another area that I am concerned. I'm concerned about that. And now the membership of the trade union might have to take note here. I remember there was a national strike. There was a strike in the brewery not too long ago, George. And if I'm not mistaken, that strike came from the membership, not the leadership. The leadership joined in after the fact. So maybe a member of a trade union, his family or her family might have an incident at the hospital, and that might trigger some kind of response from the membership of the working groups.
Maybe. Now, this person in the Azores, Sean, says, we are all just a little too comfortable to really do anything. It's very clever. whatever that means. Kipling Francis says, we removed a medical doctor and a bad minister of health and put a sales car dealer in charge. I guess he means in charge of health. So, Ryan says, and this is pertaining to the case you just heard about here, Ryan says, a well-trained registered nurse could have given this young man, and Ryan, by the way, is a nurse in Orlando, or retired nurse. He says, a well-trained registered nurse could have given this young man respiratory therapy with saline down the breathing tube and suctioning out and suctioning and humidifier treatment attached to the breathing tube in his windpipe. So it seems like a simple procedure. And that's why, you know, that's the reason why I want people to listen on Sunday, because there's more to this story than what we heard in that little piece this morning. And you're going to hear that more on Sunday morning. Go ahead, Brian.
Okay, George. You know, we should not be discussing the medical procedure because we know little or nothing about it. But the conditions are alarming and they need to be addressed. I think that's all I will say on this issue for the time.
Peter Bishop says, Brian, you've got your fingers on the pulse. Our leaders have failed us, especially our church leaders. Donna Joseph, she says, all of the trade unions here in Grenada have lost their voice and their vigilance, like they are becoming redundant, almost obsolete.
You know, that person raised a very good point, George.
Which one?
As things get harder, George, we go to church. We try to find faith to believe in something. So if the church, the leadership of the church is not paying attention to the health of the nation, then they are failing us also.
Yep.
That person is absolutely right.
Well, that's been clearly obvious in recent times. A lot of people have been calling on the churches and expecting the churches to intervene in several matters. No, sir. Nada. Nothing.
George, let's lighten it up a little bit.
All right, shoot.
We just finished, you know, I've been trying to have a conversation with some friends of mine about cricket. Recently. And nobody wants to talk to me, George. You know, and because we just finished an Indian tour and the Indians beat us up badly. George.
No.
And I'm trying to impress on my friends that, listen, because they keep blaming the players this and the players that. And I keep impressing upon them that the players do not pick themselves. Somebody picks the players. Yes?
Yes.
So there's something wrong with the process that we are using to identify talent and get the talent on the right team. Now, for some reason, George, our colonial masters of the past convinced us that the different forms of the game need different players. So we have players for 2020, we have players for 50, and we have players for test matches. The most successful teams in the world, George, if you're a good player, you can play all forms of the game. The most successful teams in the world right now, the test players play 2020 and they play 50 over cricket. Kohli, Stoke. And you know, when I say something is wrong with our selection process, George, Mr. Archer, who is the strike bowler for England right now, played for under 19 team. So don't blame the players. Let's blame the process. Let's blame the administration of the cricket. And I'm going to keep holding on to that, George, until we get it right. And I think at some point in time, we must get it right. Don't you agree, George?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I don't know.
No, you're shaking your head like you say, oh, God, right. There you go again. You know, be this optimist.
John has a question here for you. He says, what about the new Caribbean Cricket League, Brian?
The new Caribbean Cricket League?
Yeah.
The CPL?
Yeah. Hello? Oh, boy. Now Brian is frozen. Oh, yeah. Brian? Ha. All right. I'm hoping that he can hear me, so I'm going to go ahead and read a comment here from a couple of comments. Ryan says, impotent. Margaret says, that's right, Ryan. I'm not a clinician, and even I know that. I have a friend whose mother slowly choked to death at the hospital. She had an infection that led to swelling in the throat areas. The rest is history. Welcome back, Brian. You hearing us?
I'm hearing you. Are you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you loud and clear, sir.
Yeah, there was a problem here.
Yeah, okay. Well, last night we had a lot of...
The internet can feel the heat.
yes, the internet caused us a lot of heat last night, boy. Okay, so you were talking about cricket, Ryan. Did you watch the CPL game last night and the night before?
Yes, and you know what I noticed, George? That there were a lot more people at the CPL games than at the West Indies-India games. You notice that?
No, I didn't, because I didn't watch the India games.
I also observed, George, that we played the first set of games in Florida because the major sponsors of the Indian tour were Indian companies. There's a lot wrong with West Indies cricket. You know, it's not just the players in the field that we have to blame. The first set of games were played in Florida, and the major sponsors were Indian companies. Not only that, I could now listen to the CPL on my radio in my car. I could not do that when the Indians were in the Caribbean. George, now I'm an old-time person. Eh? I love listening to cricket on the radio.
Yeah.
Because that's where I get the passion from. You know, I turn the volume off my TV and I listen to the radio. I note that, George.
You old boy.
PBI carried on radio and television.
Yeah. And you're listening on radio.
And I'm listening on radio, but yet still, we keep blaming the players. How about the corporate interest in the game?
You tell me. You know, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I noticed, I watched the game with, I think it was St. Kitts night before, and there was a player by the name of Nisham, I think his name is. He was actually chosen as the man of the match. I know he took at least 3 catches and a couple of wickets, and this guy performed really, really well and was deserving. But I looked at this is a Caribbean cricket, and I'm seeing Brits playing for Caribbean teams.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
No. There is a percentage of players on each team that could be foreign. Let's not forget that the Indian Premier League is the best and biggest in the world, yeah? And India is the strongest team in the world today, arguably the strongest team in the world. So a lot of the Indian players get to play with international cricketers. And that's where they learn the skill and the temperament for playing the game, by playing with international players.
Okay.
So don't read anything into that.
All right. John says, I don't know if you agree with this or not, but John says West Indies cricket has sold out like everything else.
No. I think we will only benefit. The problem here, George, is that the CPL will showcase a lot of young players that we never heard of, and they perform well. So what do we now do with that talent? The Indian team has found most of the successful players right now from the CPL, from the Indian Premier League. When we find this talent, as we will do, what will we do with the talent?
Good question. Yeah.
George, before we go, I'm worried. I'm worried about a discussion that's been taking place in Grenada recently. And it's about that Liberia Pathway project.
Yes, sir.
And I'll tell you why I'm worried. I'm not worried about the legal matters and all that kind of stuff. I'm worried about what could be a potential Chinese enclave in Grenada. I understand that this is now a Chinese project. I understand that part of that project is the reopening of pearls. It is very likely that it will become a Chinese enclave. If what I hear is true, and there's going to be a 500-room hotel project attached to that whole northern project, then a Chinese enclave is where we're going. And I don't know whether or not our new colonial masters, the Chinese, is best for the long-term interests of this country. And I also know that the president of China has moved from term office to being president for life. So I don't know that they are concerned or interested in the whole democratic process as we now practice. Yes, George? I'm worried, George, about the identity and dignity of our people in the North and whether they will all be bartenders and caretakers of property. And a lot of people don't share this worry that I have. All they see is jobs being created. And I ask them the question, what jobs? And for how long? And whether those jobs are sustainable. And whether those jobs will allow us to send our children to school and then to university. And what would that do to agriculture? Now, if managed correctly, we can grow a lot of food for those projects. But I believe we should advance cautiously on some of these things that we are doing. I also have, George, a concern, and I don't know where we draw the line between an agent for the citizenship by investment and the use of the funds by the citizenship by investment. Because certain agents have access to the funds. Yes, George? And so where do we draw the line? I don't know. It seemed confusing in my head. Maybe somebody can clear it up for me.
All right, I want to tackle two things here. First of all, you were talking about Liverpool becoming a Chinese enclave. Margaret has a question here. She's asking, haven't they already established a Chinese enclave in La Sagesse?
Well, you see, yes, that seemed to be in progress. So we might have 2 Chinese enclaves. We might have 3 enclaves. Because don't forget, China has one of the biggest populations in the world. And these people are looking for some nice paradise place to have a vacation. And don't forget, China selects who gets richer. And a large percentage of the Chinese population getting very rich. So they will come here on vacation. Of course, they will come on vacation. So it's a good investment for some Chinese businessman to provide the accommodation for Chinese tourists in Grenada. No?
Yeah. Let me get back to the CBI for a minute, Brian. Did you hear Patrick Antoine on my program last Sunday?
No, I didn't.
All right. Patrick Antoine, just out of the blue, this man mentioned, he brought up the CBI, and he suggested, Brian, the CBI could very well be on its way out. This whole CBI scheme could be coming to an end because of the international pressure.
I don't know that I agree with Patrick, and I'll tell you why. There are very few allies in the world today thanks to Donald Trump. So the idea that there would be some united force screening people who travel on passports that are not necessarily theirs is being eroded right now. Now, if the Chinese are the main advocates of moving people via foreign passports, and they are the next dominant economy in the world, then I can see this CBI program lasting a little while longer. Because don't forget that our Minister of Tourism did suggest to us that we should not bite the hand that feeds us. Huh?
Yes.
So if these people are going to, and in fact, they're controlling, they might very well control the world economy in very short order.
Yeah.
And there's a conversation now about their own cryptocurrency. They're not using it within China. So who knows? The American US dollar might be in danger right now of not being the currency of exchange.
Yeah.
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 So I suspect if we are betting on the side of the Chinese, then maybe the CBI program would last a little while longer, and they have the money to buy the passports.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, let me get back to cricket for a minute. Anthony DeRiggs, you know him? Yeah.
Yes.
Anthony says listening to cricket on the radio helped many of us to develop our literary skills. Commentators like Roy Lawrence and Tony Cozier were so good when they described the flow of play. Where else words like full-blooded shot were heard? You're old enough to remember them days, don't you?
And Mr. DeRiggs is absolutely right. It helped all of us listen to our radio and trying to visualize what is happening on the field.
All right, Brian. Ryan Jabon says, yes, buddy. A man's relationship with God is private and personal and from the heart. Church is money. Jesus chased the money lenders from the temple and took liberating action to improve people's lives. All right? He stumped you on that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Brian, I'll tell you what. I snuck you in ahead of the GIS's national report, and I'm under no obligation to run it. However, as a mark of courtesy, which I think I'm known for, I'm going to ask you to scram.
I have not had this diplomatic way of somebody saying goodbye to me, George. Have a lovely weekend, George.
Who else could I say that to internationally? Who else could I say that to?
And enjoy the program that you're not going to run.
Thank you very much, Brian. I really do appreciate it. You have a nice weekend. Bye-bye. All right.
Bye.
So, yeah. So there goes good old Brian. My dear friends, where are we now? Let's see here. Margaret says, we can pass on the national report today. Huh? Mags? No, Mags. I'm going to run it. No obligation, but just to be fair, that's moi. I'm going to run it. National report.
NADMA says relief aid from Grenada must be properly coordinated according to the needs of the Bahamas. We'll have details to this story and more in the national report. With the details to the news for Thursday, September 5th, I am Rikisha St. Louis. Grenada's relief efforts must be organized and properly coordinated. The National Disaster Management Agency will be coordinating the relief efforts from Grenada to the government and of the Bahamas. The agency's coordinator, Superintendent Sylvan McIntyre, said our assistance to must be structured, conducted on a needs basis. The Abaco Islands and Grenada were completely devastated by Hurricane Dorian, leaving over 78,000 residents homeless and at least 20 dead. Canadians are encouraged to donate water, sanitation material and money.
One of the things that we want to guard against in times like this is that there are people who The emergency situation uses the opportunity and capitalize on opportunity to do things that might be unscrupulous. And what we would want to say is to that people do things that is transparent and that it is done coordinatedly so people that are most affected, they benefit from the effort. We are encouraging persons who make a contribution that monetary donations should first be considered.
McIntyre said there is a selection process for personnel. As it stands, officials from Grenada are on standby, awaiting directives from the Bahamas.
The Bahamian government would not allow just every and anybody or ad hoc to come into territory because that could burden the response system. So there is a selection process, there's an identification process. As needs are assessed, the technical experts would be required to come in and assist. There are a few of us from the Caribbean who've been asked to be on standby as the case may be, because this would be one for the long haul. The emergency period is going to last for some time, and then it goes into the recovery phase and then the reconstruction. So it's quite a long way, and understanding what is really done to the country, it would be a very long time before the recovery process kicks in.
He said individuals interested in sending supplies to the islands must ensure they are items. According to McIntyre, the island has enough water and food to last for 2 weeks.
The territory, the islands, they have enough food and water to supply the inhabitants for at least 2 weeks. And that in itself is an indication as to how the situation is weighed out. So if we are sending we have to ensure that it is what is required, it is supposed to be non-perishable, and we want to ensure that when it gets there, it makes good sense and it meets the need of those who require it.
Search efforts continue by rescue officials for survivors. An addition has been made to the machinery used at the Grenada Ports Authority. On Thursday, a commissioning ceremony was held to commemorate the arrival of 6 forklifts that has been acquired by the managerial team of the Ports Authority. General Manager of the Grenada Ports Authority, Mr. Carlisle Phillips, said the equipment will help in the advancement of tasks at the port.
One of the objectives of the Port Authority is to ensure that we continuously take measures to improve the efficiency of our operations, as Mr. Klein would have mentioned, and improve the service that we provide to our key stakeholders. Apart from that, of course, the forklifts are in keeping with the authority's policy to replace its fleet of equipment after a certain reasonable time. In other words, there's no sense we having at the Port Authority equipment that are not modern, equipment that cannot do the work that they are required to do.
2 of the forklifts are 10,000 ton, which can carry heavier loads. Mr. Felix gave the assurance that measures will be put in place so that the machinery can be long-lasting.
While we invest a lot in equipment and we invest a lot in our staff and we invest in a number of facilities, we need to pay attention to how we take care of them, especially the heavy equipment and the gears. All right, so going forward, we are going to be looking very critically at that area and put policies and procedures in place to ensure that the equipment, we maximize the lifespan of the equipment.
One of the stakeholders present at the ceremony, representing L.A. Purcell, Stacey Ridges, is thankful to the management of the authority for taking heed to their concerns.
It's a great pleasure to the management and staff of the Grenada Port Authority to see that they have been listening to stakeholders and customers like me, because we operate on this port on a daily basis, and sometimes it could be a real task when we come for a forklift and all is out. On behalf of all the members and staff and stakeholders like myself, thank you so very much, and we know that it's going to make our operation much easier in doing business on the port.
This is the National Report. We'll have more news after the break.
Prepare for hurricane. Prepare for hurricane. Make sure you have your radio and your batteries too. Waterproof flashlight candles will do. Tin stuff, garbage bag, first aid kit. Come on people, make sure you have it. Clean water in a container and a hurricane plan. Hear me no man.
Hurricane damage is beyond your control. Surviving the aftermath is up to you. Have a hurricane plan. It can save your life and your family too.
Prepare for hurricane. Your hair, prepare for hurricane.
Welcome back. 65 students from the St. Mark's Secondary School and the Gudday Government School are now more equipped for the new school term, thanks to donations of school supplies from the Grenada Veterans of Foreign Services. The New York-based organization has assisted over 500 students since the start of their engagement. 45 students from the St. Mark's Secondary School were recipients of backpacks with school supplies. The organization also made a contribution of 2 laptops, 2 tablets, and 2 checks valued at $500 EC to 2 students. President Joseph Granger said the goal is to cover more schools in the island.
Since 2012, I wanted to roughly guesstimate about 500 students so far and counting, because you're going to keep going every year, so there'll be more. Maybe in the next 7 years, maybe hitting 1,500. So it's an ongoing process.
20 students from the Gudday Government School were also recipients of the donation.
There's 20 lucky students for Bonaire, but I'm thinking that being that I got such a good reception at the St. Mark's School here, I will come back again and I do the same thing for Bonaire. So I think I'll be hitting those 2 schools again and then move on to another school. So maybe when I come back next year, I might try to hit 3 schools. But this is where we're moving from here.
Vice Principal of the St. Mark's Secondary School, Caris DeGans, is grateful to the organization for their timely gesture. She said the school has been succeeding academically and this will push the students to aim higher.
We are very appreciative of the initiative taken on by this particular organization and spearheaded by Mr. Joseph Granger. We are indeed happy that we were seen as a worthy recipient of this particular initiative. And we have been excelling academically at St. Mark's Secondary, and we trust that with this initiative, our students will use the supplies that they would have been given to continue excelling. Students were chosen based on needs. There's some students within our community who may not have been able to afford just the basic things that they need for school. And also we wanted to recognize students who have continually been excelling from Form 1 to Form 3. So it was a mixture of both of those.
And finally, the Grenada Food and Nutrition Council, through support from the 4-H unit, is promoting healthy eating habits for students. As we hear in this report from the Ministry of Agriculture's Public Relations Department, they held their first Curious Little Hands in the Kitchen session for the year.
We are curious little hands in the kitchen. We eat healthy.
Teaching children how to eat healthy at a young age increases the likelihood that they will stay healthy throughout their lives. This practice is associated with good nutrition and healthy weight, reduced chronic disease risks, and overall health. These are attributes being taken into consideration by the Grenada Food and Nutrition Council, GFNC, as it promotes eating healthy through the Curious Little Hands in the Kitchen program, CLHK. With support from the 4-H Club, the Council held its first CLHK session for 2019 at the St. Michael's Roman Catholic School at Bylands on Wednesday, 28th August. 10 students from the school's 4-H Club were guided by officers of the GFNC and supported by the 4-H unit. They were guided on preparing 5 dishes that would aim to replace unhealthy snacks and beverages. The finished products included avocado sandwiches, carrot sandwiches, banana mango bread, fruit pizza, and chicky plantain tots. The students, who were placed in 3 groups, utilized local produce such as watermelon, cantaloupe, avocados, and plantains. They were also taught basic kitchen safety guidelines and exposed to kitchen techniques such as grating and mincing.
And I make sandwich with cheese and carrots. I grate the cheese and I grate the carrots. And I mix it. And I put it in the sandwich and I make open face.
I grate the carrot. I put it in mint chicken and salt. After I put it in the plantain, after I leave it like bake.
Ms. Fabian Lalit, teacher at the school responsible for the 4-H unit, was an influential figure in bringing the program to her school.
I thought it was a good idea to expose them to healthy snacks. It would help the children to think wisely. They would be more conscious of what they eat, what they put into their mouths, because it has been explained to them, why we do in the session. So and I think that they had fun, so I think they would share what they have learned today with the other children.
Ms. Jessie Douglas, Community Nutrition Supervisor at the GFNC, underscored the importance of the program.
We want to start with our young children. So we want to introduce them to getting an appreciation for their local foods and also learning to prepare those foods. So the Curious Little Hands in the Kitchen is undertaking our Food and Nutrition Council that work time to time with young children throughout the Tri-Island states. We expect the children to go home and share with their family members and friends the items they prepare. We also want them to eat local as much as possible.
Mrs. Anna Abraham, Agricultural Officer within the Ministry of Agriculture and Land, responsible for the St. Andrew District of the 4-H unit, highlighted the importance of showing children how to eat healthy.
We tell children to eat healthy, but we never show them exactly what to do, what to eat that is healthy. We know that eating fruits and so are much healthier to use than other things. So what they learned here today will benefit them, health-wise. Instead of eating like I said earlier on, the corncolds and all the packet snacks, they can make those things.
The Grenada Food and Nutrition Council has worked with over 10 schools to implement the Curious Little Hands in the Kitchen program. It provides a foundation for healthy eating by inspiring children to learn to cook easy, inexpensive, tasty foods using locally grown produce. Reporting for the Ministry of Agriculture's Public Relations Unit, I am Mina Booker.
Thank you, Mina. That story just ended the national report for today, Thursday, September 5th. Let's recap the top story. NADMA says relief aid from Grenada must be properly coordinated according to the needs of the Bahamas. On behalf of the entire news team here at the Government Information Service, I am Rakisha St. Louis saying thank you for joining us. Until next time.
In our part of the world, we need to be prepared for natural disasters like storms and hurricanes, even outside of the season. I'm sure you'll agree that keeping our loved ones, homes, and businesses safe is important. So, I came up with a few quick tips to help you stay safe. First, make a family disaster plan and ensure that everyone in your household is familiar and comfortable with it. Remember to add batteries and flashlights to your emergency kit. Now, for electrical safety. Familiarize yourself with your electrical panel, as it may be necessary to switch off the power during a storm or flood. Make sure you install a transfer or isolation switch to prevent your generator feeding electricity to Grenlec's line. If trees are too close to power lines, call Grenlec at 237 for advice. By following these easy steps, you will be well on your way to being hurricane ready. Don't be caught off guard by natural disasters. Prepare now. For more information, visit grenlec.com.
Can I have a chicken lunch, please? Large.
Real nice today.
Mm-mm. I don't want that.
But you just asked for a chicken lunch.
I don't have problem with the lunch. Afraid the container.
What is the problem with it?
These styrofoam containers, they don't good for the environment. They shorten with life.
What foolishness you telling me? So what you want me to use?
Put my food in this.
Where you get that?
At the food fair, where you could get all biodegradable food boxes and disposable food supplies like cups, plates, anything you could think about. Name it, it's there. And they don't harm the environment. Food fair, taking the lead in cleaning up and protecting the environment. Hey, like you take me advice, you get in your biodegradable food supplies.
Well, girl, I supporting who's supporting the environment. That is why I shop in at food fair.
Food fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets. Products distributed by Hubbard's agency, Kirani James Boulevard.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
And so, my dear friends, that's where we're going to pull the curtain down on another week of Good Day Grenada. Thank you so much for being a part of it. This week we've laughed. We've shown you stuff that's probably brought tears to the eyes of some of you. And yeah, we've also had our technical challenges, if you will. But through it all, you stuck with us. Thank you so much for being with us. Please join me on Sunday morning. Let me tell you, it's going to be a zinger. The next edition of Sundays with George Grant. Hope you'll join us 9 o'clock right through until 12 noon. Parting word now from the Holy Scriptures, something inspirational. First book of John, chapter 4, verses 20 to 21. Whoever claims to love God, yet hates a brother or sister, is a liar. For whoever does not love their brother and sister, whom they have seen, cannot love God, whom they have not seen. And he has given us this command, that anyone who loves God must also love their brother and sister. First book of John, chapter 4, verses 20 and 21. Ryan says, stay blessed, can't keep a good man down. Hey, folks, thank you so much. God bless you by his grace. Let's have some more fun starting on Monday. So long.